Hello, Sarah Sparks. Thank you for talking to the Sunday Tribune. Where are we?
We are at New Art Projects in London, in Hackney, and we are standing in my exhibition, The Ghost Parlour.
And behind you is a very magic machine. Can you explain?
This is the Ghost Tunnel. That's the name of this piece. It's at the end of my exhibition, so it's the last thing you come to in the gallery, but it gives an illusion that the space is continuing infinitely beyond.
And why was this made?
This, the Ghost Tunnel was part of a larger installation called the Ghost Formula that was a commission for FACT, the Foundation for Art and Creative Technology in Liverpool. And it was shown, in fact, and taught to Taiwan. So the Ghost Formula was a kind of ghost research area, which had lots of different elements to it. And this piece, the Ghost Tunnel, was one of them. And I guess this is probably the most romantic part of the Ghost Formula installation. It was this idea about black holes, wormholes, and equating those with death, and the idea that death and black holes and time travel are all spaces that we can think about, we can imagine, we can't actually enter, we can't return from death. So thinking about death as a journey and a beginning or an ending.
And you've called this the Ghost Parlour.
Yes.
So can you explain why that was?
Well, this particular exhibition at New Art Projects, it's been over a year in the planning. So Fred Mann, who runs this space along with Tim Hutchinson, Fred asked me to, he was very interested to show the commissions that I had, the Ghost Tunnel, and another piece of work called Time You Need, which was a film that was commissioned for the Merrill Art Science Prize, and the gallery really wanted to show them and give me a solo show, and we discussed that, and we discussed the space it was to go in, and I talked about this idea of a ghost parlour because I wanted to explore ghosts and look at ghosts. This is an ongoing interest, looking at ghosts as an intermediary between the living and the dead, and one of the spaces in which ghosts are communicated with is the parlour or the living room in spiritualist tradition. So I thought, how nice to have a more domestic sized space that people could come into and explore, find out about my work, and I could play with this idea of a domestic space in which something phenomenal outside of the everyday can happen. This is Marjorie Crandon, and this is part of a series called Material Mediums, and the material mediums I'm talking about are women who were spiritualist mediums around the 1920s to 30s. They have in common the fact that they were investigated or researched by a psychical researcher called Harry Price, who wrote about them and documented their seances under what he described as laboratory conditions, and he either came up with the conclusion that they have real powers or fake powers. Each of them is called a material medium because it was said that the things that appeared during their seances, like ectoplasm, and in the case of the electric girl Stella Cranshaw, she produced lilac blossom, and in the case of Marjorie here, who I think is the most interesting, Marjorie Crandon, she produced the hand of her dead brother through her vagina, and he produced a thumbprint for guests to the seance. So she is quite an extraordinary woman. They are on 1970s wallpaper, which is wallpaper that was actually in my house when I was growing up as a child. So that brings in a domestic element to this. They would have been doing their seances in people's parlours and living rooms, but this was from my living room as a child. I have 2 rolls of wallpaper, one that was on my bedroom wall as a child, and then the other was in the kitchen. And my mum had kept them because, you kept the wallpaper because you needed to patch it up. And I've been making work on them for quite a long time, and this is the last of the wallpaper. A friend of mine, another artist, Sarah Doyle, So I give her credit for saying this. She hit the nail on the head really. She said, it's like black mould on the wallpaper, and you see faces in it, and it's exactly right. It's like something, mould or a stain, and then you see something in there. They're physical collages, which are then digitally manipulated and printed onto wallpaper. And there's also a reference into photography, and from the very first photographic plates, people realised that you could use double exposure to create ghosts. Some people did this for entertainment, knowingly saying this is, we've made a ghost. And other people used it in sittings with people, and some claiming that they were ghosts, but actually they got found out later that they were using the double exposure technique. So you can see the wallpaper through the faces, and they're kind of like shadows on the wall. Also on wallpaper called Ghost Dance, David Soul. And I have a curatorial project called Ghost, which I've been running since 2008. And it is a supporting platform to manifest and interrogate the idea of the ghost. The Ghost Project has had a series of visual arts exhibitions and also research seminars which bring together people from different disciplines to explore and discuss the idea of the ghost. And because of this, and because of my own work, I've become a bit of a ghost expert. And I've written about, talked about ghosts, both academically and in all sorts of scenarios. So the images in these works are drawn from a period of research, and they span different periods of history and different narratives and different cultures. But what everything in imagery has in common is it's all been a person or a thing or a place that's been used to try to contact the dead or to talk to the dead, or has claimed to talk to the dead. One of the main images running through it is a leaping girl. She's leaping up in the air. And she is Janet, the girl at the centre of the Enfield poltergeist case. So Janet, in the 70s, she had on her wall very bright patterned 70s wallpaper, probably quite like the wallpaper that was in the home I grew up in. There's a very famous picture of her, which Janet claimed that she was possessed by the ghost of an old man, a quite scary old man who was living in the house before the family moved there. And he would throw things around, things would be thrown across the room. This was witnessed by the police, by the press, and then by the Society of Psychical Research, and they made films and photographs documenting this. And one of the photographs shows one of the photographs, very famous photographs, shows Janet leaping up in the air out of her bed in a red nightie. Her sister's in the other bed. There's hectic 70s wallpaper on the walls, very typical domestic home. And on the wall is a huge poster of David Soul, and she's leaping towards it. And this series is named Ghost Dance, David Soul.
David Soul is in Starsky and Hutch.
Yeah,
David Soul.
Starsky and Hutch. Yeah, David Soul. His name is great as well, David Soul. And he also appears in another photo. People may not have spotted this. A lot of people have spotted David Soul. It's hard to miss in the famous poltergeist picture. But there's another photo that shows the three children just standing in the room, kind of screaming. And it's their living room, a little ghost parlour. And behind them, there's a magazine rack, and the magazine